God, we were so excited to do the two big passes, weren't we?
Been looking forward to it the whole time.
The
Stelvio-Großglockner. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we almost bought a bike called the Stelvio. The Moto Guzzi Stelvio.
Yeah.
Went to the show and ogled over it. And that's when we found out what it was, and every video we saw, we just wanted to go.
The corners on the Stelvio were just amazing. The tight corners going up there. It's just...
So Imst, where we ended part one of the video, Imst is Carras, just near the sort of ascent. So we would head south and cross into Italy and go up the southern side.
I'd been really excited to go into Italy, see how different it was. And you immediately could tell the difference in the roads.
The drivers.
Yeah, the drivers.
The Italian drivers were fantastic towards motorbikes. They just seemed to have a love and an understanding that a motorbike is different to a car. They weren't jealous. If we went ahead of them in traffic, they weren't jealous. So visor change, we just stopped for a visor change next to this little lake and discovered the clock tower in a buried village.
Yeah, the whole village was underwater and just the clock tower was sticking out.
So nice little spot to change the visors. We always carry reflective tinted visors, and then we have clear visors for night in case we're running late and have to go in the night. But the clear visors are also very useful for rain or poor light.
And we were a bit worried about the weather that day, but as it turned out, it was a glorious day to go to Stelvio.
So yeah, clearing weather, sunshine after a couple of days of rain, where we'd had a stopover in Carras, and we set sail for the Stelvio.
There were quite a few cyclists on the road, but
yeah, it's a milestone for them.
It is.
A lot of those guys, once in a lifetime. They've literally trained for a year, and they're going to do this ride. Same for us. We'd waited 3 or 4 years to get here.
I generally found them to be, quite considerate. They went single file up the road, and even though they were struggling, they tried to keep to the side.
Well, you've got to be careful that you don't pick a day when those guys are having a race, because if you pick a day when there's a cycling race, you're doomed. So be sure to Google that. We didn't.
That's true.
And very quickly you realise that there's going to be trucks and buses. Easy to get around them on a bike, and that it's it's a strange road. It's not well made. It's poor, very poor bitumen surface, but long straights and then first gear hairpin corners.
And you need to overtake the buses and trucks before you get to the corners, because they need to do several tries at each corner, reversing and then going again to get around it.
Yeah, we've got some good footage of that on the way down later on. So we went up and down in the same section of road because it suited our plan to position for the Großglockner the next day.
And the fact that you go up so gradually, going through all these switchbacks, means that very slowly you just sort of go up the trees and you can see over them, and the scenery changes each time you come back to the same bit. It's just really peaceful and nice.
It's very difficult to take the uphill section if you've never ridden before. So we're riding 2 up on a fully loaded bike. I mean, our panniers, I don't know what the weight was, but we staggered to carry each one. And we got 3 of them. So there were lots of day trippers with either no luggage or whatever, and familiarity with the road zipping past us. We weren't too fazed by that. We just went at our own pace. We didn't want to drop the rental bike.
You definitely got the feeling that some people did that road almost every weekend.
Races. There were races there.
Yeah.
Good on them. They weren't impolite. They were fine.
It gave the meaning of cafe racing, and you know.
Yeah, the cafe at the top of the 50 turns.
Yeah.
Well, because you're looking above your head, the corners aren't flat, they ascend. So you've got to look above and behind you. Only at the last minute can you tell if there's going to be traffic coming.
It didn't seem to be that much of a problem on the lower corners, but as you got higher and higher, they actually had a wall in the corner to protect the road from the rocks and stuff, and you had to look over the wall for the oncoming traffic on the other side.
Well, the left-handers were better because you had a bigger radius, and the right-hand
Mm.
uphill corners, I found them really tricky because you were on the limit. The handlebars had to be at full lock, balancing, and you couldn't necessarily put your foot down because on the downhill side, you couldn't reach to hold up such a heavy bike. So if it was clear, it was always great. But I mean, aside from the difficulties, it was just euphoric. We had the heated gear on, I'm pretty sure. I've got the heated gear on here, and seat and bars.
It was a pretty cool day. I think, about 3 degrees or something?
Centigrade, yeah, just above freezing centigrade, or I guess what's that, 35 Fahrenheit, as we ascended on the SS38 road. And the road was wet because it had been raining for a couple of days before that. Gradually drying. But good grip, no problems, no potholes. They maintain it pretty well.
A lot of work has been done, a lot of brickwork on the side of the road to stop anything falling onto it. And it seemed to be pretty clear. I mean, we didn't find any problem with finding debris on the road, did we?
No, there's nothing on the road. No gravel, no sand.
No.
Nothing. Very good surface altogether. I mean, the only problem going up was not being able to see if there was traffic. Yeah, if there was a bus. The buses go wide, obviously. Like here, I've stopped because I just didn't know what the bus was going to try and do. And to get your feet down with 2 up and all the gear. So, yeah, would you go to the Stelvio again?
Yes, it's a great ride, really great ride. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I would definitely go again. No complaints about Stelvio. It's just a 50 turns of fun, basically. The bike, yeah, 1290 with 140 horsepower. It just zoomed up there. Wasn't racing it, but it's got lots of torque, and just the climb, the hills meant nothing to that bike. It zapped up the hills. Bit of cloud halfway, we were a bit concerned.
Yeah, we thought we might see nothing when we got to the top. But
just a bit of cumulus in the mountain passes, I think.
it just added to the atmosphere, I think.
It was windy though. Can't tell in these shots, but the wind caused us an incident, which we'll cover later at the top. A little bit of panic.
A lot of the corners have these little gaps in them, so A, for tourists to park and to take photos, but also it's in case you don't quite make the corner when you're coming down. You've got a little bit of an overshoot you can break in.
How do you think that's what that's for?
I think so.
I just kept noticing on the corners all the drop marks from all the bikes that have been dropped in every corner. Thinking, Jesus, that one's gouged out, and the next one's gouged out, and the next one's gouged out. Wow, must be some real decent drop incidents. Look, you can see them on every corner, there's little gouges. A lot of people hire sports cars, we found, and as we went up we would be overtaking Porsches and Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and no word of a lie. Like,
yeah, just for the experience they would do it.
Open sports cars were common. Porsches, passed lots of Porsches.
Well, maybe not open on that cloud, but they would have got a bit wet.
And exotic cars, which I didn't know the name of. Ducatis and whatnot. It's about 2,700 meters at the top of Stelvio. No fuel at the top, so this bike had 30 litres and there was no trouble of 450k range. So we didn't want for fuel at any point. But if you had a very small tank, you might need to fill up in the village at the bottom because there's no fuel at the top. We were in the minority. I think there were a lot of day trippers who had empty bikes, no panniers, but us with the full 3 panniers and from being from overseas, we didn't meet anyone else from overseas. Everyone else was European.
That's it. I mean, you definitely got the feeling that some people, if they were from overseas, that they left all their luggage behind in a hotel downstairs, you know, the bottom, and rode up and went back again.
Yeah, when we've heard of other Australians doing that, doing these passes as day trips with empty bikes, whereas we were on one continuous journey.
There's parking in the middle of the road. That was
a little
quite
30-minute
surprising.
parking zone. It's confusing. The signage isn't obvious to Aussies.
But it is a really nice, picturesque pass. It's sort of sprawled out on a long slope on the mountain.
It gets the sun, and it's alpine meadow, so there's no trees or bushes to block your view. Although the walls, I don't know why they put up those crazy rock walls, because they're hard to look over.
I think it's for when there's snow.
Could be.
And
Or
maybe
it could just
avalanches or
be to
something.
stop the cars going down the hill.
Yeah, maybe.
Hitting other people on the way down. I don't know what the hell it's all about. So pulled over a couple of times trying to get some photos, and took photos. We did some 360 shots with our phones, panoramas. The wind got progressively stronger as we got higher. Well, I guess you'd expect that on a pass anyway.
It always seemed to be that wherever we stopped, the next place you saw, you'd think, oh, that would have been better to stop there.
In Australia, we'd bought some special KTM power parts and waterproof and winter gloves. They weren't cheap. They were like $250 a pair, something like that, or more maybe. And they were pretty good.
They were, but
not good enough. We were still cold.
Yeah, they'd still let the wind through at that sort of temperature. My hands are still cold.
Yeah, I think since then we've developed a technique where we put a rubber latex, a big black industrial latex, over the top of our winter gloves, and that stops all wind and water. But I think when we did this trip, we weren't quite so experienced and didn't have that perfected.
It was very pretty in a very stark sort of way.
It's narrow. It's definitely narrower than you'd expect. And the Austrian roads and passes are wider than this. So I guess this
A lot. You almost feel like you're in one lane going up. It's two-way traffic.
Yeah, 2 cars must be at a pinch. They have to both go close to the rocks to get past each other.
It must be quite scary if you're in like a big 4-wheel drive and you've got to pass the bus going the other way.
So we were on intercom on our centres and we were chatting away, but unbeknownst to us, the Bluetooth of the Garmin was interfering with the recording of the Bluetooth and the camera. So when we did our tests, we didn't have the GPS on because we'd just be sitting with 2 helmets and a camera. Tested it would work. And then when we did the ride, it later on proved to be something about the sequence of turning on, or providing the GPS was the very last thing turned on, it was okay. But if you turned on the camera after the GPS was already on, you were doomed. It wasn't going to work. And when it did work, when the GPS cut in to give you directions, it cut off the audio recording as well. So it was a Bluetooth. We've got this standing joke about Bluetooth. Every trip we go on, we spend more time fixing Bluetooth problems than anything else.
Anything else.
Yeah, there were people in very modest rental cars going up the Stelvio Pass. And of course, rental cars can go up faster than anything, so they would be fangarating them. We just plodded up there, enjoying the bike and the view and waving at the other bikes. At this stage, we hadn't met any, but at the top, once we got to the top, we definitely had some cool conversations with people. Everyone who gets up there is on adrenaline, stoked and happy.
Happy that they've made it up there alive.
So there's a sort of a group euphoric feeling at the top of these passes like Stelvio that we found we didn't get on our Aussie rides.
And of course, like everywhere in Europe, at the top, there's all these souvenir sellers.
And because we weren't guided, we were just doing our own tour. We would stop and stretch our feet, get our hands working again, and at every little parking space we could find, take some photos, warm up a bit. Don't think, did we eat anything at the Stelvio? I can't remember this day.
We had a coffee at the top at the Mongolian hut or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Mongolian had a coffee there. Finally decided to stop, and Sylvia put her gloves on the seat and climbed up on a rock ledge.
To take a photo for you.
I was taking photos from the bike area, staying around there, and turned around and one of the gloves had blown on the ground and the other one was missing. And when I looked carefully, it had gone over the edge into this sort of rocky ravine. Oops. And you didn't have any spare gloves.
Nope. So I was quite upset about that. You can see on the right there, that's where the glove was, down the side. And I managed to find, what nationality was that chap?
He was Italian Afghani.
Yep. He was masquerading as a mountain goat. He just ran down and picked up my glove for me.
Yeah, he ran down a gravel slope, which was on the limit of the scree, about 70-degree slope or something. We thought he was going to die, and his friend who was with him thought he was going to die. But he just
came up
somehow on all fours came to a stop, grabbed the glove and crawled his way back up again. We were astonished at his abilities. And we tried to pay him some money, tried to give him some 50 euros or something, and he just absolutely refused it. So we pulled one of our kangaroo patches off
and gave that to him.
And handed it over, and he accepted that as a thank you. Very nice guy. Speaking in Italian, which we couldn't understand.
He's getting used to his life up there no matter what.
I look at skiers. Guys walking around with their skis. What the hell?
Highly recommend a KTM 1290 Super Adventure for a Stelvio run. It's a perfect two-up pillion bike.
I definitely felt on the way down, it was much easier to appreciate the view.
Yeah, you could see the view better. The corners were dead easy. You could see if there was traffic coming and you could plan your corner, whether you had to stop or go, you knew. Whereas the uphill was...
And the corner was wider for you as well.
Yeah, we were on the outside of the left corners. Well, obviously on the inside of the rights, but you could see. You could just look straight over the wall and say there's traffic or there's no traffic, and take a wider line if you could.
And you could see buses and things like that coming from miles away.
So I was super happy that we decided to ride down, because I would say I enjoyed it 5 times as much going down compared to going up. My hands were getting progressively warmer as well on the descent, and I could see every corner, so I really enjoyed the corners. Whereas I would say on the way up, I was apprehensive on every corner because of traffic. It's a wonderful little valley. You've got virtually permanent or jaw-dropping views on the Stelvio. That's what's different about other passes. Our rocker suits were fabulous. A little bit of drizzle we had first thing in the morning was repelled and dried off, and we were dry in our suits and warm. My body wasn't cold, was it?
No, I don't remember turning on the heated seat either. I don't think I needed it, even though it was quite a cool day. My hands were the only problem in the gloves.
So layering, I think I've got a slinky, a t-shirt, and then that's it. And then the jacket has a liner, a warm liner, and the outer shell, Gore-Tex. That's it.
I think I had my liner and a puffer jacket.
And the Nuremberg Ring was just like a big
I was snug as a bug.
Yeah, we were very relaxed. There was no pressure. So here, our agenda for the rest of the day is essentially stop, have a lunch somewhere, wherever we felt like, and then make our way to the bottom of the next pass, which was going to be the Großglockner in Austria.
Yeah, I think we hadn't decided at this stage yet where we were going to spend the night. I think we decided that over lunch, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're in Italy and we essentially went further east in Italy and chucked a left and went up into Austria to the bottom of the Großglockner. But because we had no fixed agenda, it didn't really matter where we went this day, so we weren't in a hurry. Just sauntering along.
The problem with the Alps is that when you first get there, you're absolutely gobsmacked at the views. And it's almost like your brain can't comprehend those fantastic views all the time. And every corner you go around, it changes. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, there are numbers on the corners that go right up into the 100 and somethings, but as far as we knew, there were about 50 corners that we took.
On that side, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe they're counting them from somewhere else, or I don't know why the numbers are so high. But there are 50 really excellent hairpin corners in a row. No accidents. Didn't see any accidents.
No.
And no incidents, apart from our glove blowing off the hill. Once you had your glove back, you
All was
settled
good.
down and
Yeah.
stopped
All was
telling me
good in
my
my-
fortune.
Yeah, all was good in my world again.
And after that, I don't think you ever left your gloves on the seat again.
Well, certainly didn't leave them in your care again.
Well, it's not like they were tucked under or held by anything. They were just sitting on the seat, and the mountain winds just roar through there. They just went flying off the seat. So I guess you learn these little lessons to treasure your gloves and tuck them under the something or other. Put them in the panniers or something when you get off the bike. I thought we'd see more aviation, like helicopters or planes flying through the mountains, but we saw basically nothing.
No, when
Rescue choppers.
when
Yeah.
we've been in Switzerland, we saw a few planes going overhead, but out here we didn't see much.
The rescue chopper pilot in me was looking for helicopters and didn't see them. But I kept thinking about how I would fly up these valleys as a pilot.
But you don't even see sightseeing helicopters or anything like that.
That's true, they're not really into their joy flight helicopter scene, are they? Well, it's so accessible by car and motorbike and bicycle that there's no need.
Maybe in winter they do that. Maybe they do helicopter skiing or something.
There's ski resorts at Stelvio, and that's what it is in winter. It's a big ski resort spot. My showy helmet was really good, had the chin curtain and the pin lock to stop fogging, and it was just great. Love my showy helmet.
I had a warm buff on. And that was, perfect. Put together the showy. Didn't let any wind in.
700 Ks. That chick looked like she was over it.
Yeah, in 3 days, because he said they saw that they had no bookings for 3 days, so they quickly started going to trip.
But he said yesterday in the rain, they went, they rode 700 Ks straight yesterday.
Oh, because I said to her, oh, it was raining yesterday, so we just stayed at the hotel and had a lay day. And she was, oh, you're so lucky.
Did she say that?
Yeah, I didn't realise why.
Well, that's how the road builders work. Initially, they run the roads alongside a river course. And then once the grade is too steep, they just start cutting zigzags up a hillside and abandon the river and go up the hill and zigzags. But in the lower stages of any ascent descent, they just use the river valley and slap the road right next to it. That was a common tactic throughout the Alps.
You can tell we're getting lower here. There's trees again.
I mean, I would build a road the same way. It must be mind-bogglingly expensive to cut into this rock with bulldozers. Here we go, bus incident.
Not waving.
Oh, that gate doesn't look good.
Which one?
Yeah, on the right.
I wasn't looking.
Wolf disappeared with someone.
Is that what's happening? Fucking Harley.
So what's happening here is there's actually another bus turned up whilst before this bus can complete his manoeuvres.
Yeah, you see all sorts of things going up there, haven't they? Yep.
The reclining bicycle.
That would be tough.
How the
on
hell was he
steep
going on
parts.
that side?
Man, he was going slow too, and he was so far
You
from
want
the
to
top.
die?
Some sort of Vic Mole type
I used
dude.
to always turn around and go down.
That would be interesting going down fast on that thing.
So at this stage, we've got a slight problem with the added. All our electrics, our lights and Garmin and GPS, no, something else, were running off the. Oh, that's right. Each light had a wire and then the GPS, so there were 3 wires coming off the cigarette lighter plug. The Garmin wouldn't come on, but I later on found out it was the plug inside the Garmin and not the plug. But I'd pushed the plug in and out so many times trying to get it to work, thinking that was the reason that it damaged the plug, and I had to use the spare, which I'd pre-made and carried. So the one spare that we bought, which is a spare power supply for all our devices, got used. People are very polite. Whenever we cut to the front of a queue, there were no anger moments that we experience in Australia. Everyone was just cool with the fact that a bike would go to the front.
And in fact, if you stop short, they would
Make a space for you.
yeah, that to indicate that you should overtake them and go further up the queue.
Yeah. Well, I think their system in Italy is different. When you're a kid, you can only have a motorbike license, and as you get older, eventually you can have a car license. Whereas in Australia, it's the other way around. You have to drive a car first before you can have a motorbike license.
Well, it meant that all the motorists really respected that.
Almost every
The
motorist, cager, had been a biker in the early days.
Yeah.
And lots of the girls were riding scooters. So-
Lots and lots. That's good to see.
So we'd set the Garmin GPS Zumo to avoid highways and to take us on curvy roads. So we didn't go down any actual there were tunnels and freeways where we could have got faster anywhere we wanted to go, but we didn't take those roads. So you can commonly see us riding next to big freeways, but we're not on the freeway itself, we're sort of on the secondary older roads. And that put us next to rivers. Commonly better sightseeing and just a slower pace of everything. That's good. And you have castles here and there, spotting little castles up on the hills.
And the towns were really interesting, I think, because they weren't part of the main traffic highways. They were so glad to see tourists come through. Truck stops were interesting.
Yeah, we saw a truck driver drinking beer at this truck stop, and we had really nice spec German sausages.
We bought some salami and stuff to take with us. It was so good.
That was damn good, that Moses spec.
Here we're heading in the general direction of the Dolomites, the edge of the Dolomites, aren't we?
Bolzano was the town we were coming to.
We didn't stay there though.
No, we just ripped through Italy because we wanted to position ourselves in Austria at the bottom of the Großglockner. We didn't really have a plan. Most of Italy was in rain, but the northern part of Italy where we are here didn't have rain, so there was no way we were going to suddenly say, let's do Italy in the rain, whereas Austria was clearing. Little Airbnb called Alpenrose, but I think every second Airbnb was called Alpenrose.
Yeah, there were lots of Alpenroses.
I don't know what that was all about. We'd strolled across the road and had dinner with all the Harley riders. There were a bunch of Harley riders staying at the sort of hostel across the road from us. Chatted to some of them. And a nice clear day. Buzzed off to get ourselves up there, Großglockner. But again, because we'd set no freeways and curvy, put us on such a curvy road that we were convinced we might be lost. But it was not. It was just a really nice Garmin road that we went zipping up. I think at this stage there were conversations. We were starting to love Austria so much once we got into these farm areas. We were starting to say things like, hey, maybe we should live in Austria.
That's it, yeah, could we afford to live here and things like that. It's so beautiful.
It is. As a biker, we'd never seen such amazing roads. Just fabulous quality of bitumen road construction.
So this little turn off here is us leaving the main, well not the main drag, but the sort of semi-main drag and going off into the tiny, tiny little country roads. But it was a great adventure. We saw lots of squirrels and things like that up in the hills.
These are just farm roads that we're on. So it took us up essentially a private, it's a public road, but it's a farm access road. It's not really a thoroughfare. One single lane bit of bitumen running up the valleys. And after a while we decided we could be lost, we weren't sure, and we stopped. And while we were stopped and looking at the GPS, you chatted to some people in that red van.
Yeah, they were really friendly.
They said, no, you're on the correct road, keep going.
We were most of the way there, I think.
Yeah.
We were just worried that we were going up so high and we hadn't got to the Großglockner yet. We thought we might have bypassed it somehow.
It's part of the fun of being on a self-guided adventure is there's no certainty. So your navigation is part of your life.
So here we are getting directions.
Oh, there's a mirror on this one.
There's some sort of building code and every farm shed has to look like a postcard house. It's amazing. Austrian farmlands. In winter, the animals live in the house with the people, and in summer they graze on the pastures.
But every house here has a shockingly great view. Just gobsmacking.
Lots of mirrors on the Austrian corners. There were no mirrors on the Italian roads.
No.
None that we saw.
These could be little overtaking bays, which car can reverse up to.
Some of the sides here were so steep, you definitely didn't want to be going off the road. It would be a long way down before you stopped.
That never occurred to me. It's a thought that only you had. You sort of envisaged yourself going down there on your head, I presume.
I don't know. Didn't get into the finer details.
I
just
never thought about riding down there. We didn't have knobbies, we just had regular street
I
tires.
wasn't thinking about riding purposely.
Oh, God.
And there were all sorts of interesting little houses like this one going across the road.
I guess they lower wood down onto trucks. So this is the start of the Großglockner. We're coming to the main, or the primary road that takes you on the Großglockner, off our farm road that we're on, and come to a roundabout, and we suddenly saw bikes, lots of them, heading up and down the pass.
This is not officially it yet. You have to go through the toll gate first to be on the Großglockner.
Yeah, at 24.50 euros, so 24.5 euros for a bike, whereas a car was 34, only 10 more, and you could have 5 or 6 people in your car. So it is a bit of a scam for cars.
A lot of trust there, darling.
It did give us a sticker there.
Yeah, we got a sticker for our trouble. So being a toll road, it was in excellent condition. Stopped for a stretch and then set off on the big ride up. It's very high, 3,000, nearly 3,800, 3,700 and something meters, which is 13,000 feet. So higher than anything in Australia by far, twice as high.
It was a great contrast to the Stelvio too. Like it was all big, open
Sweeping
curves,
corners, wide roads, beautiful condition. So there comes a point, if you want to go to the glacier, that you head off up another windy section, which is what we're on here now. Free parking at the top, well, free in terms of the fact that you've already paid 24.5 euros.
No additional fee for the parking.
Yeah, for the 6-story car park at the glacier.
But it's well worth it.
It's fabulous.
The view there is fantastic, and even walking up to the little, what was it, a museum kind of thing? That was great.
The glass tower.
Yeah, because it's like a viewing platform that's all enclosed, but it's also got little artifacts that you can look at.
Yeah, so the forecast weather of fine, no rain held, and we got the weather we'd planned for. And being in the shoulder season, there was a lot less traffic. Apparently in the summer, those car parks are just chock-a-block with buses and people. But on the shoulder in September, mid-September, we are here, there were way less people interested in venturing out.
It's alright. They're putting.
We very quickly got out of the tree zone here, so we're just in the grassy bit. Lots of these tunnels protected you from falling rocks, I think, and snow, I suppose, avalanches.
Avalanche tunnels. They'd built the hotel and the cafes right next to the glacier, but I think over the last 100 years the glacier has receded. So now when you pull up at the final spot, you can't see the glacier. It's well up the mountain, gone, melted, finished.
If you go to the very end by the cafe, you can still see just the end of the glacier.
Remnants, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, not as impressive. You can see the photos of what it used to look like. Yep, that was pretty impressive.
The again, big biker buzz here. Bikers everywhere, sort of super happy, and everyone chatting. A lot of people were leaving their full biker gear on just because the temperature was only marginally above freezing point.
They did have lockers that you could put your helmet and stuff into if you wanted to, so you could go walking around.
Little paid lockers for
Yeah.
gear in. So I think we took a few photos without our hats on, our warm
Should be able to do a
beanies, but
pano over there.
man,
Have a bike in it.
the wind chill factor was savage.
Parking.
Hopefully.
4 levels of parking.
For cars.
This whole building is parking.
A parkade.
Unbelievable.
We went into the little shop at the end where they sold.
You went into the shop. Did you go into every shop?
Yeah, no. Well, they sold souvenirs, but they also had a sweet stand there, and I can remember buying some rum balls, which, to my amazement, had real rum in them. So didn't let the driver have any of those.
Yeah, I was confined to having one, I think. Or one rum ball.
So there's the remnants of the glacier.
In the distance, tiny little glacier.
It was super windy.
Yep. The true Austrian. Look this way.
Yeah, you sent your mum a postcard from the top. Yeah, people bringing their pets
Yeah.
up there. Isn't that interesting? So there's meant to be marmots and ibex everywhere crawling around the hill. We didn't see them out mainly because it was such a ferocious day, windy.
Yeah.
But they were in the museum, so we got photos of them there.
But it's worth it to go to the viewing platform up here.
It's worth the walk up the hill to the very top.
Take my camera out at all.
And once again, it's one of the places in Europe where motorbikes get the absolute best parkings.
Yeah, they do.
Cars, wheelchairs, and prams are relegated to second place. While you were at the cafe, I struck up a conversation with some Austrian undertakers, it turned out, who were riding in Geos. But they were super friendly and were very interested in our Australian venture.
Yeah, she was giving me tips to put my buff over my hair like that, to try and keep it neater.
We wanted to take photos all the time, and the only question was, where should we stop for the best photo, not knowing the roads? So we stopped frequently, and sometimes we wouldn't even take photos, we'd just stop, look around, and make comments about wow, and then go again.
The Großglockner had so much variety, I think. It covered such a huge area.
So one of the negative bits of owning a KTM 1290 is the side stand just isn't long enough, and the bike leans over a lot when you park it on the side stand. So this little sloping car park was a problem because we put the stand out and tried to use it, and the bike, eventually we just couldn't park it there to get off the bike. I had to keep holding the bike because it was loaded with panniers, and the side stand, I mean, if you owned the bike, you would buy one of those side stand enlargement plates and the problem would be solved, but because it was a rental, it wasn't solved.
Oh, it's the highest bloody mountain in Austria. I'm
Yeah, I think all the guys coming up here look like they're old hands, you know. A few young blokes. There's a black line running down the middle of the road. It's like some kind of welding joint.
Still got oil on for his car.
I think the slow car just pulled over. Bit of an Italian move there. Just getting a bit tired of all the shit.
The interesting thing with overtaking cars is nobody would try and speed up and cut you off like they do in Australia. They just accepted you overtaking them and that was it. The Großglockner is not just an up and down road. Like there's several different sort of peaks that you go to, isn't there?
Yeah, we didn't spoil it for ourselves because we didn't really know what was going to be there. We just had heard of the name. Someone recommended the pass to us in Australia, one of your girlfriends, and so we went.
So where were those people staying?
They said they had a hotel 20 k's away. And they were hanging out there.
It was just like a story unfolding in front of us. We didn't know what was coming or what to expect next.
Yep.
Another hairpin?
Yeah, hairpin and the car coming. And a bike.
The Austrians put a huge effort into the structure of their roads. Some of the corners are completely supported by stilts and stuff to make them easily drivable.
Yeah, they wouldn't go for a hairpin. To them, a
No.
hairpin was unacceptable, and they would put a nice big radius on it. And they weren't obsessed with. We have a problem in Australia where the roads have solid double white lines everywhere.
To prevent you overtaking.
Whereas the Austrian roads would leave the dashed line on corners, so if you could see ahead and see it was clear, you were legally allowed to overtake. And I thought that was quite reasonable. I guess they don't have that sort of nanny state mentality that we have progressively seen encroaching on our Australian roads over the last 30 years.
They have the sticks everywhere here to show you how.
The snow sticks,
Yeah, show you how deep the snow is.
We weren't sure what those were. We looked at them and why have they got sticks on the side of the road?
It was a bit disconcerting.
But now that I think about it, they have them in the Australian Alps as
They
well.
do, yes.
Anyway, we don't live in a cold climate, so we weren't used to
Got
it.
him.
The tunnels were interesting. Some were very old, some were quite new and modern. And you could tell the difference by the amount of lighting they had in it.
Wow, that's kind of epic.
Once we got over one of the passes, the wind picked up to like 60 kilometers an hour. It was blowing like reloaded and us all over the road.
Came around the one corner and nearly got
Hit a
blown
car,
off the road.
Yeah. But yeah, for motorcycle touring, this region and the Großglockner itself just has to be
It's so windy here.
the best experience. It's fabulous.
Theo, have you maybe?
Plan
one
your
on my
weather.
arm.
Don't go there
Eh?
on a rainy day.
Okay.
or a
The red
snowy
light on
day.
the camera's on.
Now, if you find a great place to park a bike and you park there, you can pretty well expect that within minutes other bikes will arrive
Hopefully.
and ruin,
That's what
photobomb
we
your
expected.
shot. It
That's
happened
it.
all the time.
All the time.
So no one thinks of a good parking place, and then when you find one, boom, they're all arriving and going, oh, this is a great spot. Yeah, mate, it was.
People bring their dogs up here. A lot of dogs.
Yeah. It's
Jesus.
tight. Oh, oh, oh.
Pano.
Oh yeah. I think we're gonna have to stop here.
There are quite a few places that you can turn off the main road and go up other little passes and roads.
So we're now sort of on our way down the hill and out off the Großglockner and setting ourselves up to go and pick up your bike tomorrow.
That's it.
Sylvia wanted to get an RC 390, exactly the same bike that she rode in Australia and learnt to ride motorbikes on, so there'd be no bike issues. And that bike was waiting for us in a little town called Wells. They were hard to find, but there were some people renting them.
Yeah, there's a bus coming. I'll just nip around here.
So yeah, we booked one of those, and essentially that's our plan now, is to sort of head in the rough direction of Wells. But on the map we noticed a little town called Bad Aussie.
And we just had to go there.
So, of course, that's where we went and spent the night, at Bad Aussie. I think Bad means something in German. Bath. Because there were lots of bads.
Yeah, lots of bads.
Bad Ischl, Bad Aussie. I don't know what it means. Some clever German will no doubt tell us in the comments. But Bad Aussie was a great spot. Found a little B&B on booking.com.
Although it doesn't actually say Bad Aussie, it says Bad Aussies.
Yeah.
It was close enough.
Strolled into town and found ourselves a gourmet restaurant and treated ourselves.
The only place open, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a little bit above budget, but whatever. We loved it. Okay, down to business. Let's rank these passes. Out of the 7 major passes we did, let's hear your number 1.
Has to be Großglockner.
Ha! Yes, actually, for me too, Großglockner was the best, number 1. Number 2?
Hartenjoch.
I'm rating Stelvio number 2. Number 3?
Grimsel.
Susten. Number 4?
Stelvio.
Hartenjoch. So, okay, and let's hear your tail enders 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, 5, Susten Pass. 6, Furka. 7, St. Gotthard.
Yep, very similar for me. So Grimsel was 5, Furka was 6, and St. Gotthard was 7.
Okay.
So we're sort of agreeing on those last ones. Cool. Okay, the best meals of your trip. Let's have it. Where were they?
2 places, Wolfgang am See and Karis.
Oh, wow. For me, it was the Memmingen Brewery twice. I ordered schnitzel both times. Loved it.
Yeah,
but sure, the Karis schnitzel was pretty close, but I'm just going to say Memmingen. Because it was so cheap, the Karis schnitzel was more expensive. Best hospitality experience on the trip? Okay, mine was the Traube Pension. And we ended up booking an extra night there.
In Karis?
In Karis, yeah.
Yes, that was definitely it.
The woman there was just great, and all the locals in and out there and stuff.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. It was a great room. We had a hammock on the balcony. It was just perfect.
Yeah, the whole farm atmosphere was good too. Okay, your best impromptu experience?
The truck stop on the side of the road that sold these smoked sausages.
That's funny because that's mine.
The vivid red bench we found on the side of the road, it was great for taking photos, and I had a brilliant view.
It was meant to be one experience, but I agree. The red bench was pretty close. Let's go with your 3 mentionable road experiences that weren't passes on the trip.
Okay, the one that springs to mind is the red bench on the side of the road, overlooking Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
Was just memorable. The clock tower in the lake in Italy.
Oh yeah.
And
the submerged tower.
Yeah, and in Switzerland, when we stopped at the cafe and they gave us the biker treff, I was just...
You were stoked.
I was.
For me, it was the open speed limit autobahns, number 1 for sure. And number 2 would be wherever we went in the Alps, as bikers, I felt like we were being treated like royalty instead of trailer trash like we do at home. So I really noticed the difference. And number 3 for me was that sudden river crossing where we were on a ferry without realizing it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's pretty good.
They were all pretty good.
And then the picked up the rental bike at the KTM rental shop and headed back into the sort of lake region.
Wolfgang am See.
The little says. It's kind of like the Lake District of England, but this was like the Lake District of Austria. There were lakes all over the place.
Well, the particular lake that we were on...
Wolfgang See.
Yeah, Wolfgang am See. They had the headquarters for
Red Bull.
Red Bull just across the lake.
And of course they have Aldi shops in Europe. We didn't go into them. They weren't called Aldi, they were called Alda.
No, they were called Aldi, but in I think Austria they were called Hoffmann.
Oh. Well,
same logo, with an H instead of an A, but it looked the same.
So all we did was punch in the destination of the B&B on bookings.com and then hit windy roads for navigation, and it would take us on really cool back windy roads. Done. It was that easy. Navigation was not a problem with Garmin.
I don't think we ever took a back road where there wasn't fantastic views.
Mm. Yeah, we had a lot of cameras, but we weren't obsessed with photography. In fact, we virtually ignored it. We would just press on the camera and then ride. So there was a GoPro, a couple of Chinese GoPros, the two phones. Both of us had phone cameras, video cameras, and then we had a little Nikon camera in case we... But I think that was more of a throwback from the old days when you always carried a good camera on a holiday. You really need it. Could have gone with two GoPros, it would have been fine. And the phones had little value as cameras, in my opinion. We could have done without them.
I love the way the tunnels had all these little points where you could get out the tunnel and stop the car and take a few pictures.
Mm. So we pull up at the KTM shop. Sylvia says, I'll go in and get the bike, it's in my name. I'm like, sure, fine. And when she came out, she had a little surprise for me. What was that?
Well, I'd been thinking about it and I thought the RC390 is a bit of a race bike and you have your head down, and I'd been enjoying the views so much. I wanted to have a sit-up one, but they didn't have a Duke 390 for me. So they said they had a 690. So I was, okay, I just had to wait a half an hour or so while they cleaned it up, and yeah, I could have that instead.
Yeah, so you wrapped around everyone 690 and loved it.
I did. I really liked it. I did notice when I looked at my footage later that I was a bit more anxiously looking around when I was riding my own bike.
Interesting decision. I had no part in it. And for all I knew, we could have picked up a 690 anywhere else in Europe because we'd gone specially to Wells to get a 390 before you changed your mind. That's a, what do they say, a woman's discretion or something? Is that saying?
A woman has the right to change her mind.
That's it.
I enjoy that bike a lot. I've been told that I might have vibration in the wrist and stuff like that, but
Wasn't a problem.
it wasn't a problem. The roads were so good. I never came across any of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the even the sawmills, the timber mills, have to look like postcards.
Yeah. I can see the dust in the background.
So Sylvia had a really cool technique of drying the clothes because they hang on the shower every night. You'd wash them, but to make sure they were going to be dry by the morning, you had this little towel technique. It was pretty effective.
Yeah, just get rid of most of the water out in the towel, and then you hang it up, and even in the cold weather, it would be dry in the morning. Because we were carrying minimal amount of luggage, so.
We had our own washing line, which would work in showers, like a long, elasticized washing line.
Semi-drying the laundry.
I think it's in some of the shots here.
Okay, now we're ready to hang it up.
And then we'd head off and get into the Bavarian food and beer. Pizza was everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah. You'd think you
Austrian
were
pizza
initially the way it was going, but.
A lot of the region that we were riding in was called Tyrol, which spans 3 countries, Switzerland, Italy and Austria. And the Tyroleans were sort of a proud tribal bunch who would say, you're not in Austria, you're in Tyrol, or you're not in Italy, you're in Tyrol. So they didn't care too much about the borders. Yeah, so our little day trip plan, Sylvia came up with this, was to do a big loop around the various lakes. place we were on was a working farm, so explored around, checked out all the farm gear, the llamas and the tractors. So although we were doing a lap, we weren't going to be staying at the same hotel. So I was actually riding with all of our gear and the panniers because the next hotel was the sort of, what was it, daughter sister hotel of the one we were in.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to leave our luggage in anyone's foyer for the day.
It's actually the hotel that we'd had the pizza in the night before.
Yeah.
We were staying there. Two brothers owned the two hotels.
2 k's away or something. So yeah, I got to ride a bike which was lighter sans pillion, but with all the luggage. That was no problems, no issues. Riding around. And you got to ride a naked bike with no luggage. Very well organised.
I thought so. Another little toll gate. Lots of toll gates all over the place. Private roads.
Private roads. It was 3.50 euros, 3.5 euros per bike. So I think I gave the guy 7 from memory.
It was a very quiet road. I don't know if it's because it was a toll road.
There
was hardly any
nothing
traffic.
on it.
Yeah.
I think we had that feeling most of the time when we were in Europe. On the shoulder season, the roads are not sure because we'd seen some horrendous videos of caravan after caravan after caravan, and we just didn't see that at all. It all disappeared, gone in September.
It's interesting how the forests smell different to Australian forests. The types of trees and stuff, it really comes through.
Yeah, there's none of that eucalypt smell that we're familiar with. These pine trees, I don't remember them having any smell.
No, they definitely had a smell. It's more of a mustier sort of smell, I suppose, because it was also damp all the time.
This little pass accessed beginner skiing slopes resort, which we're at here in the car park. But in summer, they just do hiking. And it's not very full. Probably why there was no traffic in summer. But in the next month or so, snow will be falling right here.
Pretty epic.
I was used to riding on the right by now. For you, this is only your second day of not riding on the left-hand side of the road. You're still freaked out by it.
Well, just the road was okay, but when we came to roundabouts, I did find myself looking the wrong way. I had to really, really think about it.
We carried our rain gear a rain jacket and boot covers in a yellow bag on top of the pannier in case it suddenly started to pour rain, and we could pull those out without opening the boxes.
Which it did shortly afterwards, didn't it?
I put 2 extra cameras on the bike, the Chinese GoPro. They were called Xiaomijis. One worked great, the one that was on the rubberized mount I'd made, but the one down on the engine was absolutely useless. It shook itself to death, and all I got was jello waves. But I guess 1 out of 2 is a good score in those days. 2015, there were no, you just got jello waves. The top camera was mounted on 10 gel balls that I'd bought and cut out of the carbon, and that worked great. It was all done in a hurry because in and around work we had to prepare for this trip.
The countryside seems so foreign to what I'm used to riding through. You had to pinch yourself that you weren't sort of riding through a storyline of a movie or something. It felt strange.
Yeah, Aussies, we were just not used to the mountain ranges.
And the greenery, everything was so green.
So we had to be a little bit careful changing from one country to another with mobile phones, and I would recommend to anyone, switch your phone as you cross a border if you don't have a phone plan. So we're on Australian phone plans, and when we crossed from one country to another, we got slugged $1,000 before we stopped about half an hour later for data because the phone did an update. We appealed that and later got the money back. But be very careful to put your phone into airplane mode when you cross a border before you can get the new phone card for that country.
See here we're putting on our rubber glove over our normal glove. It's not an easy process.
Works well though. Hands are perfectly dry. This is just a couple of showers.
Yeah, but they got quite wet and it was quite cold, and we stopped here and they could see how cold we were, and they gave us some biker treff to warm us up, which we were quite interested in.
It's only later in the day when we checked the bottle carefully that said it was alcoholic.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was. Giving away free alcohol was not exactly something we were used to.
No.
So although the Lake District of Austria wasn't as epic as the big passes, it was still a lot of fun for us to play around on 2 bikes, overtaking each other and having a chat and just looking around and relaxed cruising, I guess you could call it. Lots of corners, lots of twisties.
Yeah, that'd be the word I'd use, playing. It was a lot of fun. And the roads seemed to be fairly empty, so you got this really peaceful feeling, and you just basically do what you want.
Lesser known passes that you'd found.
All with this epic scenery around you, just was amazing.
Yeah, I think when a road is local, you don't get a thrill out of it as much as when you're on holiday and you think, I'm only ever going to ride this once.
Yeah.
And somehow that just turns up the adrenaline and the fun factor.
I think also for us it seemed foreign because the buildings were quite different to ours, and like all the flowers on the buildings and things like that. You felt like you're riding through a postcard.
I love it that they don't speak English when you get there and stop. Everyone's talking in another language. That immediately makes me happy that I'm on a holiday and away.
I mean, a lot of them did speak English, but when they're talking amongst themselves, of course they didn't.
So the GoPro had broken its little mount and had to find a GoPro shop, and surprisingly there were very few shops that sold GoPro parts. So it looks like we're pulling into a boutique, but we're actually pulling into a camera shop that is stocked GoPro parts.
And we just parked on the pavement and nobody had a problem with us.
As usual, within a second of parking, someone's talking to you about your bike, and they're not worried about the fact that your bike's parked in their shop front. Everyone's calm about it, cool. Long chat, go and get the parts for the GoPro and head off again. And at all the hotels, if you say, I need a special place to park my bike, keep it safe. Oh, absolutely, they would jump to help you. Park it in my parking, take you down there, show you a special place, keep it undercover.
In some cases, they would move their own personal car out the way just to make some room for you. It was brilliant.
Lake District views from our room. Have a few quiet drinks on the balcony.
It was tough.
It was tough.
Somebody had to do it.
So, time to return the 690 and get our butts back to Frankfurt. So, we noticed we were not that far from Mattinghofen as well.
So
Mattinghofen.
had to do a quick little detour there.
That's the place where they make the KTMs.
So we went to Wells, dropped off the bike.
Well, no, we had to go and wash the bike.
Ah, yes,
So,
wash the bike.
If you don't return the bike pre-washed, they charge you an extra 50 euros. So we went, oh, well, we can fix that with 5 euros. Hit twisty roads and no highways, and Garmin took us there. Off to Wells to give back the 690 Duke. I like to listen to music on my Senna when I'm riding. Sylvia doesn't.
I did find little things were different because, of course, you're riding on a different side of the road, so now the stagger works differently.
The best thing is you can wave at the other bikers coming the other way with your left hand. Keep your
Yeah.
hand on the throttle. Just mountains everywhere. Lakes and mountains. Beautiful area. The yellow high vis on the back of the panniers really worked well.
Good.
I think we pulled up at the KTM shop and said, oh, that's right, we've got to wash the bike. So we
you
did a
went-
quick lap to wash the bike.
Put fuel in and wash the bike.
Yeah, top it up. That's right. Trying to interpret the German on the machine.
Get my helmet on to keep dry.
And then after dropping the bike off to the KTM headquarters, it was a Sunday, so they were closed, but we could go inside and look at all the bikes in the display cabinet.
Yes, this display cabinet is a long glass cabinet which has all the bikes in it. All the current bikes.
Mm.
That was really interesting.
It was weird to go to the factory knowing that my bike had been made there and then sent to Australia.
And mine. Oh no, mine hadn't been made there.
No, yours had been made in India.
Yeah. Damn.
It was really nice. Most of the autobahns are 120, 140 kilometers an hour. There are a few unrestricted ones, but they're not all unrestricted. 140 is quite a good speed bike, really like that speed limit.
We wanted to go to Eagle's Nest, but the weather turned really bad. And we thought we would just...
Forecast, yeah.
Yeah.
And just belted through some rain to get to Frankfurt. Why did we... Oh, that's right. A friend of our friend had told us to go to the Black Forest Road, so we're actually on our way to the Black Forest Road.
So we went back to Memmingen because we knew the place there to stay.
Ah, yes, the Memmingen Brewery. One of my favourite spots. Great food, great beer. So we sort of looped around the top of
Munich,
München, and then down to Memmingen on our way to the Black Forest. And once again, the brewery was excellent. Very comfortable rooms and everything we expected in Germany. It's the only place we went to twice on the whole trip, and for good reason. So the ritual with the panniers was to take the shoes out from the back of the inserts, put those in the dry bags, and then take the inserts out and leave the pannier empty on the bike. So 3 inserts in total, and all the extra stuff fitted in the dry bag, the purple dry bag. Once we got in the rooms, the main role was to get all the cameras on charge, cameras and phones. And we had an Aussie power brick, a 6-way adapter for that.
Then we do our washing and then we go.
Down to serious business.
Yeah, well, you know. So the next day we went up to find the Black Forest Road, only to find that it had been closed at the top.
Visor cleaning. So yeah, you get a lot of bugs on your face and you've got to perfect cleaning. So we had it down to a fine art. It took us about a minute to clean both visors and get going again to spotless condition. Didn't even have to take the helmet off.
Oh, took long to put your gloves back on.
And even in the middle of Germany, pizza shops.
Pizza, yeah, everywhere, pizza.
Germans were a little bit weirded out about us jumping queues. They didn't seem quite as comfortable with the Italians with the whole process. But there was no issue.
No.
No. The other German bikers weren't as bold as us. Cheeky. That's what the Black Forest looks like.
Yeah. And again, like all these little side roads, all nice and empty. You could really enjoy them.
I think this particular Black Forest road is on the list of top 10 roads in Europe. So yeah, if you look on Google for Top Gear top 10 roads of Europe, this is one of them. They came up here in a Lamborghini. It wasn't anywhere near the quality of the Austrian roads and didn't have the passes of Stelvio, but it was pretty good. We never got to the epic stage because we came to the roadblock. So the trip up the Black Forest Road went pretty well. Lots of curves, deep forest, pine trees. And then suddenly came to a sign which just said road closed. I don't know why it was closed.
We never found out.
Landslide or something, who knows. It was in German. So we pondered going through illegally and thought, nah, doesn't matter, not that big a deal. Came across another big group of bikers who'd all found the same roadblock and were turning around and going back. So we hit the Garmin and went a different way to Worms.
We had the opportunity to go on a ferry over the Rhine.
Yeah, one of the settings in a Garmin is whether you can take ferries or not, and hadn't ticked ferries under avoidances, so it was quite happy to take us to a paid ferry, which we loved.
Yeah,
I was surprised. We went, oh look, we're going on a ferry. We came to this ferry, I wasn't sure when to get on, so I just went forward and was the first on. No one told me to get off.
Locals are fascinated by us.
Couldn't read any of the signs.
6, so we go.
Danke.
Ah, you're English?
No, Australian.
Oh, okay. Are you from Australia?
Yeah.
Oh! Ah, good. So that was Australian. Australia's far away.
No, it's not far.
It's only 20 hours.
20 hours. Ja, only 20 hours to fly. Ja. Nur 20 Stunden.
I think it's saying it opens automatically. Don't smash it down.
So that was the Rhine River and the Rhine River ferry. Across.
I think we actually crossed over the Rhine River several more times, but on bridges after that.
Something's exciting, isn't it? So also on our list, our daughter had given us a shop in Frankfurt she wanted some clothes purchased from.
A couple of shops that weren't in Australia at the time. Cos and what was the other one? Another Story or something like that.
So we thought, okay, no problem, we'll just duck into the centre of Frankfurt and get these clothes quickly. But the problem was the entire area where these shops were located was being renovated and all the roads were closed.
And parking was very difficult to find, and shops were difficult to find.
So we did about 2 laps trying to get in, just couldn't get in with the Garmin, and walked like a block or something in a motorcycle over to the shop.
It says it's here on the right. Do you think it's Villa Brenner?
The B&B in Worms was a little bit obscure. They weren't bold with the signage, so we pulled up out the front and we went, are we here? Is this even the place? It was the place. Garmin was correct. Virtually no signs. Brick building. for our trip, we each had one set of smart gear, so we had like smart inner jacket, pants, so we could take our biker gear off, get dressed in our one set of smart gear and go out. We found a great restaurant in Worms, had some traditional food. The waiter was an older guy, and we just said to him, mate, we're from Australia, please tell us what traditional food you eat in the Black Forest. So he planned the whole meal for us, and it was great.
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, not to mention the drink, the Lautenhammer.
Yep, he recommended all the local brews, cognacs, sausages, desserts.
There's some good stuff there.
That was the nature of our trip. We weren't restricted. We just ordered whatever we wanted in the restaurant. It's great.
This is the contrast of the highways compared to the nice quiet little roads. Here we are.
Yeah, for the very last day going to Frankfurt, because we wanted to shop in town, we hit the freeway option. You don't need a freeway pass in Germany, whereas you needed one in Switzerland and Austria.
Yeah.
So German citizens can travel on the freeways at no extra charge, which isn't the case in every European country.
The Swiss one was very expensive, but the Austrian one was quite reasonable.
How much was it?
Like,
12 euros, I think?
oh, I think it was even less. I thought it was like 5 or 6 euros per bike for a month. Oh no, for a week.
So they're quite strict with their keep right rule. When you're not overtaking, you've got to move into the right lane. And just because you're going fast doesn't mean someone else isn't going faster. It was in Germany that we saw the ninjas going past at 300 k's.
On the Autobahn. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And after doing the urgent family shopping at the specialty shops in Frankfurt, we stopped at a little restaurant, had lunch there too.
It's a little pavement restaurant. It was kind of interesting. Then we went and washed the bike.
Yep, quick spritz up on the KTM 1290.
Quickly took all the lights and things off.
No scratches whatsoever. We didn't lose our deposit. We got all our money back.
All the stickers off.
And called an Uber. And a big sort of Uber limousine turned up.
And the shop we had hired the bike from had stored our suitcases for us while we were away. So we just chucked everything into the suitcases, got changed and hopped on the Uber.
So only, except for our helmets, everything else fitted in the suitcases. All the pannier liners and all the bike gear.
All the boots, yeah.
Big Rooker jackets, all the body armour, what was in the jackets, all fitted in the suitcase. Trip home, we'd planned a night stop in Singapore. It was a country that we'd been to before and really liked. So we'd chosen that with our Lufthansa flight, Lufthansa Qantas.
Bit of a contrast in the weather. It was hot and humid when we were there.
And it was a good place to get my phone fixed. I dropped my phone on the trip in Austria and cracked the screen and got it fixed here for $30.
Yeah.
Apple iPhone. This A Queen hotel was perfectly placed in Singapore. Highly recommend it. It's affordable, central. Great.
You like going to the Indian district in Singapore?
Yeah, the Mustafa Center area of Singapore is the place we go whenever we're there. We love Indian food and Indian tea, chai tea.
Go and have food with the locals. I mean, it's the best food out, rather than going to all the fancy restaurants.
Singapore's a great place. It's tidy, organised, quiet. Oh, well, that wraps up the Alps experience.
Yeah, and what a great experience it was too.
Absolutely bloody fantastic.
Can't wait to do it again.